Hello, folks. I'm Joe Wesley, and my guest today is Darryl Haberman. Now, he's not, the guy's not a mute zombie. It's basically it's family morning starting out, and sometimes if the dog is barking or the kid is making a noise, he'll go on mute just to give you guys a warning. So, Darryl, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Joe. Thanks.
Sounds good. We start a little bit early on the technical side. Some people do sign in early and they get concerned if nothing's clickable occurring. And also, it's the more informal side. I'll give a more formal version once the hour kicks in. But the purpose here is everybody I've met, virtually every business owner I've met, all complain about no one's taking me seriously enough times to get their business. And the challenge is people are copying my comments, they're repeating things I've said, claiming that they're better at what I do than I'm at what I'm doing, if that makes any sense. So I'm discovered that there are people who tend to do the same as everybody else. It's safe, and maybe they likely work very hard, spend more hours in front of their efforts, but their competition does the same thing. So the question here is, what is truly unique to you that nobody can lay hands on? I call it your fingerprint. People can copy DNA or be 99.9% only you are or you are not the daddy, whatever that may be. But I've never seen anybody, and we know they're doppelganger, people who can look at you, or look like you, I should say, that yeah, there's enough similarity. You can find lookalikes. And you'll see that with your athletes. You'll see that with your movie stars. But nobody has your fingerprint. I've never ever seen that duplicated. It's like a snowflake. I shouldn't say that because no one's a flake here. But there are unique things in our world that is specific to you. The challenge is most of us don't know who we are as unique. We'll talk about what we do. Well, we work hard, we're concerned, we're very well trained, and we care about our clients. Who doesn't care about their clients? I expect more than we would think, but they will never admit to it. But there will be only one Darryl Haberman. And the value that he is as a person, if the more he understands the concept of it, and he may already understand everything, I may have nothing here to offer, but that's my challenge, then the more he can flow into his business, and if the consumer who doesn't know me from Darryl or anybody else will say, hey, I like what this person is presenting for my particular need is their karma, and I'll make a choice in that direction. So, as I said, we start off the first 3 to 4 or 5 minutes being a little bit informal. Right now, I'm doing all the rambling. I will correct that once we get to the witching hour. Darryl, so far, any questions or any comments?
No, completely on board, understood. You've well articulated what we're about to jump into.
Okay. Now, see, I call this a problem. He's smiling. This is a hot seat challenge. And the guy's saying, I want to do this. There's maybe something wrong with the messaging here, the style. But I will say this, that the people who accept the challenge or volunteer for the challenge, they're a different breed of persona. And my hope is I can discover part of what his difference is, his uniqueness is, hopefully make it clear enough to you, members of the audience, who may or may not make a decision on what you want to go with as a person for your business needs. So we'll see where that goes. And I don't start before the hour formally, but we're close enough to it, so I'm going to say we're about to start. So more formal version. Hello, folks. I'm Joe Wesley, and this is on you, Darryl. Okay, thank you. It's a live performance. It's unrehearsed. I have to give an advance notice that this is family morning for Darryl. The kids are up, the dogs are barking, so there may be certain times that he may say nothing at all or look off screen, but it is live, it's unrehearsed, it's unscripted, and I think that's the fun of it. The purpose today is to help Darryl discover an unknown ingredient to his hot sauce environment, and my role is to figure it out well enough to share back with him. Now, either I'm completely wrong or maybe I'm partially right. We'll decide that. Hopefully, if nothing else, I can raise an eyebrow of intrigue from him to say, you know, you're the first one to ever say that, or have never heard about that before about myself, never thought about the connection. So the first part of it, we begin with 20 minutes of my asking Darryl, "What's your favorite pastime?" And that's not
My fa-
rhetorical. That's on you.
so that's question one. My favorite pastime.
Yes.
My favorite pastime is watching and playing sports. It's really since a real early age something that I've always been interested in. It's a good release. It's fun to go in person. It's also nice to kick back on a couch and watch a good game. Enjoy the drama, the theater of sports, and hopefully get to experience some highs and wins along the way. It's a little bit of a mixed bag with my favorite teams, but I've been lucky enough to enjoy several championships.
Any particular type of sport you like?
I'm big into hockey. I worked at the NHL for 22 years, so
Oh.
that also helped. Yeah, I'm a big New York Islanders fan, New York Giants fan in football, big Mets fan, and those are really like my big three. And then on the college scene, University of Michigan, so they had a big win over the weekend too. So a good portion of my Saturday was spent watching the game with my son and my wife.
So I'm going to hazard a guess. You went to Michigan?
My wife did actually. I married into a Michigan family. I went to a Division III school, so I
Okay.
didn't have the big Division I team.
That was me
My,
also. So, wow.
my my
So,
wife, yeah, my wife went to Michigan, but I grew up on Long Island. It was, college sports weren't so big there. We didn't have a big local team,
mhm.
so I always had an affinity for Michigan, and just as it turned out, I married a Wolverine, so then that brought it more to the fore, and for the last 15 years or so, had a deep vested interest in the Michigan sports scene, and thankfully the last couple of years they've been pretty successful on the football scene.
Were you an athlete when you were younger?
Yes, I played. I was a competitive swimmer from age 6 to college. I played lacrosse, soccer, and then quite a bit of hockey. More like intramural deck hockey. A lot of street hockey. I grew up on a dead end street with all kids similar age to me, and we
Right.
put on the rollerblades and used to play hockey quite a bit. Coming out of school and over the weekends. So yes, sports were very big, and I played a lot, and I was more very competitive swimmer because
Hmm.
I swam on a private team, and that was 14 years of my life.
Mm. You're talking to a couch potato, I will admit that. What is it about the sports? I'm assuming you were either gifted or hyperactive or both. What is it about sports that grab you? Or maybe, I would assume at a certain age you do what you enjoy doing, but you stayed with it, it sounds like, because you say very competitive. So what was it about that path that grabbed at you?
So I mean, everyone from where I grew up to, we were all big into playing sports, and my parents, my older brother, there was always a sport being watched, or my dad was an avid golfer. There was always something going on, so that helps. Really at the early stage of my life, just being involved and around, and just knowing that I not only enjoyed playing and that as an activity, but it was a sense of community. There was carpools for swimming, and you go away to meet, and it became more of a lifestyle as well. And then when you think about playing and the camaraderie, the fitness aspect of it, swimming is really good for the whole body and the mind. There's very individualized events, and then there's team relays, but it really helps in the development. And my 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 sports involvement at this stage of my life is more not only just consuming the game, but working in sports media as well. So sort of on the other side of it, but the drama of sports, the competitiveness, it really is unscripted. So that's the fun part. And then as I mentioned, the working, I work out and I run. It's being outside, doing a lot of things that are good for your mind and body is so important. I mean,
I'm going to I'm going to throw with a question. I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to have to assume you said you were playing something since 7 years of age. Oh, since 6 years of age, a swimmer.
Yes.
I don't assume you were very philosophical about the value of swimming at the age of 6. There must have been something, because of what I'm hearing here. I'm hearing the concept of fellowship. I hear the concept of competing. I hear the concept of winning. But at 6, I can't think you were that left brain functional. I wasn't to have that as a strong point of your life. So what, as a 7-year-old kid, do you recall what it was all about for you?
Well, so I had a brother who was a swimmer. Grew so my brother is just about 3 years older than I,
Okay.
and he was on the team, and so there were tryouts. So I at an early age was a pretty good swimmer. So you start off as a junior, and then I was one of the younger kids that was able to swim with the big boys and girls, and
Right.
I did well. Had some early successes in some meets, and that sort of stokes the fire.
Right.
So I enjoyed the swimming part. It's nice at a young age to know that you're good at something,
Hmm.
and at the same time, with my brother swimming and making lots of friends at a young age of people that, similar to me, had stayed with the sport on the same team for 12 to 15 years. There were
Oh.
some really tight family ties and things that we all did together. So thankfully, I developed that at an early age. Some from 6 and 7, swimming in meets and enjoying that aspect of things.
Hmm.
It really helped shape me as a person, but also that young athlete that's really uh, realizing that swimming was something that I enjoyed and I wanted to stick with and be better at.
I understand. So it takes a certain degree of diligence, I guess. So you say you have natural skill. You say that your brother is 3 years older, so that was close enough to make him competitive as opposed to 10 years older. You could never catch up with somebody that far ahead of you, I would think. So I can see something within grasp. And folks, I'm taking notes. When I look down, again, unscripted, I make notes of what I'm hearing here. I'm already almost on the full page. But what I'm hearing here in part is you like sports. I would say not for all of the above. You mentioned fellowship. You're very strong about that. You mentioned that the discipline of being good enough to be competitive, and you say it in a very proud manner, as one should, because there are a lot of people in sports that do it for the fun. That was moi in particular. But to have the discipline to stay with it to get better. Now, are you one of those types of people that would get up at 3 in the morning to compete in the before the pool even opened to do your thing? I mean, how did you attack that? Or again, I'm assuming because I'm a couch potato. Before and early on, you enjoyed it. You had natural skill for it, and you love the flow of water. I guess streaming by your body. If I'm way off, let me know. But the issue was a mechanical issue to say I'm going to work at this, or did it happen on its own flow to get better and get better and get better? I know when I'm not asking very well. Was it for the fun of it, the thrill of it, or was it I'm going to be the best I can be, or a combination of, and none of the above?
No, it was a combination. You alluded to times in the summer before everyone went off to camp and really started their day. I used to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
be part of a carpool drive for about 30 minutes to Holtzville Pool. There was a big Olympic-sized pool outdoors,
Mm.
and
That must have
it
been
was
fun in the winter time.
yeah, and it was about a 30-minute drive, so it's tough to get up. But yeah, we had to get in our practice, and we were diving into an unheated pool. At some time, there were
Ooh.
points where the pool was about 70 degrees, and
Right.
and that's really cold for the body. So it was like a big shock to the system. But
Mm.
we, that was tough. The summers were tough, but that's also peak seasons. If you were looking to qualify for some of the bigger events, the junior nationals, senior nationals, there was lots of big regional meets, up and down the East Coast that were happening. So you couldn't really just put swimming off to the side in the summer, even though you're looking to fully enjoy summer with your friends and everything. But as I alluded to earlier, I realized, I was good. I enjoyed it. There were some times that it's a little trying, or you didn't want to get out of bed, but
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, every one of my close friends that I had for many years were on the team, and we all banded together and tried to find more fulfillment. We would go to McDonald's for the sausage egg McMuffins after and really that helped develop things. But there was always practices. I mean, that's the thing with the swim team is it's not only the morning practices. There were after school practices. There were some Saturdays that the coach probably wanted me to attend more Saturdays, but at the end of it, there was about sort of 10 hours of swimming
Mm.
practice a week, which was really really tough. But as I said, that helped shape and guide me, and from a fitness level, mental discipline, balancing that with schoolwork. There was a lot there as a swimmer
Right.
that people I don't think realize if they're not on a team and they're not super competitive. A lot of people like swimming, but when you're on a team, it's ratcheted up to that next
I hear
level.
that. Now, when you were in college, were you still active in sports, or did other
I
further?
went to the other side. I became more involved like I am now, where I was that reporter, writer, producer kind of person. I did intramural hockey. I used to play a bit of pickup games and whatnot, but I stopped swimming. I probably wish if I could do it over again that I actually continued swimming, because as I mentioned, I went to a D3 school. I definitely would have been able to, stay at that level
Mm-hmm.
and swim competitively. But I stopped as a freshman. I did the fraternity, the Greek life
Ah,
thing. I
okay.
became more absorbed with the college community and taking part of fun and different new adventures.
Mm-hmm.
But I started writing for the school paper, and I did just about everything. I was doing some sports updates for the radio show, and I was starting to figure out what I wanted to do as a career professional, and the extracurricular activities changed. It wasn't too much playing sports. It was more, writing, reporting, producing, and that occasional pickup game. Plus, I still was watching lots of sports again, and as I did from a real early age.
I hear that. Now, the I was going to ask you better than I've asked is what is it you do for business? I'm not sure. Haberman Consulting, that could be anything. So how does that work?
So Haberman Consulting, I'm a management consultant that has 22 plus years experience working in sports media. I worked at the National Hockey League, Major League Baseball, Advanced Media, and Disney Streaming. On doing content operations, a lot of editorial programs, partnered with sales and marketing teams to put together programs and content across many different digital media platforms. So
Right.
the way I come at it after leaving the corporate sector is I'm working as that fractional COO, that operations mind that can marry a lot of the creative aspects of business with that technical part of my brain as well. I've worked in digital media. I've been part of many big projects, partnering with the left side folks and the right side folks on putting together compelling programs, and so I understand the development of products and how fans and users engage with content.
Right.
So there's lots of programs and practices and techniques that I can bring to founders of business and those C-suite executives that are looking to optimize their business or identify new strategic partners. So I do a lot of research and development, and I've been able to help a lot of early stage companies
Sure.
since I left Disney Streaming last August.
I hear that. Now, folks, I'm going to be deliberately blunt. What Darryl presented was a very good resume, but most people in business I've met have very good resumes. So I call that left brain activity. I like to delve more perhaps in the right brain side of activity. And when I'm hearing about your favorite pastime, I'm hearing several things. One, you have natural skills. And I know a lot of people who've had natural skills, and you've alluded to that don't follow up on. And you often hear about young athletes doing 10,000 different sports because they have intrinsic good stuff in their DNA, but they don't commit themselves. And I'm impressed by the fact that at a very young age, despite making a point with brother perhaps or not, you stay with it for what I see for several reasons, besides being good at it. You talk about much about the fellowship side of it. And you talk about the challenge of it. Some people do something, as I've met, because they need to win. You want to win. You want to be. I think your focus is more on be the best of who you can be, and understand that it takes diligence, it takes follow through to make that happen. And you're good enough, you can actually be competitive. And not all of us have that skill. You talk about and I have to refer to my notes again. So besides the fellowship, you talk about developing your body and your mind. So at some point you matured enough to realize it's not always a gee whiz, this is fun syndrome. Yeah, it's a drag to be up functional at 5 o'clock in the morning, giving up part of your, I'm presuming, free life to be committed to swimming, and then to the cold water. Many people would drop out, I would think, because of the challenges. And if anything, you did the opposite. You stayed with it because it was more than, I think, just to be best. But you like the fellowship, you like the challenge. I'm assuming to some degree you had to learn technique, of course, as any sport will, but I'm assuming you had perhaps something unique about your style that made you better than your competition that the coaches might mention. Or was
So
it big?
I'm 5'9". I was always a little bit smaller in stature than some of the real those Olympic swimmers that you see are lean, mean machines.
Right.
I was a sprinter. It was later in my career that I started doing more of the distance events, and with my stamina and drive, I was able to do well. But for the most part, with my technique and ability, I was more into those short distance events, and I was able to go all out for 30 seconds, a minute and a half, depends on the event, and that was my winning recipe, or my way to do it is I could swim fast like a little water bug for short distances, before the taller male young athletes were able to use their technique to their advantage, and just glide in the water. I was more that the quicker strokes, making
Mm-hmm.
sure that I was maximizing every stroke and breath, and my flips at the end of the lane were super on point, and
I hear that.
I wasn't wasting time and creating drag in the water.
You kind of said almost my closing statements, that you have an awareness about who you are, and you said only 5 feet 9 inches. You're right. That's a relatively small size for a swimmer, but you used it to your advantage. Where others might have walked away from it, perhaps, or tried, despite themselves, to compete against not a natural flow for them. And so, what I'm hearing here, as I'm putting it together, is the fellowship is good, making things happen well is good. Swimming is an individual sport, but it's still a team effort. You've emphasized that word several times around. So I can see where somebody like yourself would fall into a corporate setting or march in that direction, and for the culture of the entity, but you're not slowed down by that. I can sometimes think coaches can be overwhelmingly not necessarily good, but clearly your drive causes you to be heads up aware, to create a unique value that reflects the best of what you can do. And so in the business that you've described, I would think a client who's concerned, I say this differently, people, including clients to be, also have that ROI factor, the return on investment. And they're hesitant to make a decision because they don't want to waste more money than what they've already blown on the prior agent they had, perhaps. So what I see you bringing to the table is a sense of not doing it just to pay the bills and have great vacations, but you do it because in doing it, you see enough about yourself to know your skills. You stayed in that industry. You now, having done that, learned enough additional skills to do your own program that you think you can do better. And I think it's more than basically technical. I think it's a matter of, if somebody were to hire you, they could feel pretty good you're going to take a unique approach to what they can present through their business, because this is what you did for yourself as a part of your style. Am I far off on that?
Yeah, I did early.
I'm going to interrupt, folks. For some reason, we're getting breakup, and I'm not sure why, and I apologize for that. Am I breaking up to you also?
A bit, but I still hear you.
All right, I apologize for the static on that. Again, live performance, that's the fun of it, I guess. We'll have to make better on that. What I'd like to do in a summary for what I've just said is to remind you, folks, there is a link that comes along with this presentation. More information about Darryl is listed. If you have questions to him you'd like to engage him in, feel free to do so. He provides links to his social media sites, and I do also. So if you're looking for someone to represent, and who's your ideal client again?
Ideal comes from the space.
I'm going to have to ask you again because we're getting very bad static, and I'm not sure, and I apologize that, folks, live, but keep working at this to make it better. Let me say it more briefly, and I do apologize, that learn more about Darryl, look at his credentials poke at him. He's a very open kind of guy, as I'm hearing here. And if you'd like to know more about finding your secret sauce, feel free to click my links and ask questions there. More importantly, please subscribe. If you're looking at us through YouTube or even Facebook, and I don't know the other social medias that well to comment on, share us with your friends, your associates, make an invite for them to be a part of this also, to volunteer. And again, this is normally a half an hour program, but we're getting static enough that it works against our program at the moment. Is there anything more you'd like to say, Darryl?
Yeah, just reach out to curiosity, show the work, and appreciate the opportunity, Joe, and what you're doing.
Thank you. Still getting a lot of static, so we're going to sign off a little bit early. Thanks for joining us. Please leave your comments or questions. We do audit the social media platforms that we're on, and we will get back to you. Any questions, comments, share us. If you're looking at us through YouTube, please subscribe. Darryl, thank you for your audience. I appreciate it. I wish you the best of success. I thank you for taking your hot seat challenge. I think that's great. Have a good one.